Welcome to the Daily Fantasy 5 for today, Monday, June 24th. It is episode 126, and we are bringing you the 5 things you need to know every day in the world of fantasy sports. Today is no different, and we are going to be talking a little baseball with the Browns' Mike Soroka. We'll start with him. We also have some Cubs news, and then we're going to talk about our fantasy football wide receivers. We'll get to all that after a quick word from our sponsor, www.mathradio.com, where you can pick up an online math course for as little as $9.99 to help your child, ages 7 through 17, get better grades, score higher on exams, and even get into college. All right, give them more confidence that they need in the classroom to succeed. That is mathradio.com. All right, so let's start in Atlanta. Like I said, the Braves' Mike Soroka was hit by a pitch in the arm yesterday. He was removed from the game. X-rays were negative, however. We don't know about his next start yet. We'll keep you posted on that. Mike Soroka has been pitching amazing this year. He's probably one of the top candidates for the Cy Young Award. He's 8-1 with a 2.07 ERA, 0.97 WHIP, 63 strikeouts in 78 innings. So the strikeouts are a little bit low. I would be a little bit concerned about that, but overall, he's pretty amazing. Next up, so there's a strange line in Vegas. The over-under for the Braves at Cubs is 11.5. Yep, there are two pretty decent pitchers going today. For the Braves, we have Teheran, who has a 3.4 ERA with a 1.26 WHIP, so not bad at all. And then Lester's pitching for the Cubs. I mean, he hasn't had a great year, but he still has a 4.13 WHIP with a 1.35. I'm sorry, a 4. That would be a pretty high WHIP. A 4.13 ERA with a 1.35 WHIP. So not great numbers, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know why this line is so high, but I trust in Vegas, so I would be betting on my Cubs and my Braves hitters in daily fantasy baseball. So take with that what you will. Also, this is coming out late, so congratulations to the women's soccer team for pulling out a win today, 2-1 over Spain. They advanced to the Elite Eight. All right. With all that said, let's move off the news and get into our fantasy wide receiver discussion for fantasy football this year. We've finished our top 20, and today we're going to be talking about picks 18 through 20, the end of our top 20. These are what I'm calling the number 2 wide receivers on their teams, but they are still very, very valuable. So let's start with number 20. I have Calvin Ridley here. He finished 19th overall last year among wide receivers. Ridley ended his rookie season with 10 touchdowns on 92 targets. Not too shabby. It's hard to imagine him ending up as a number 1 wide receiver with Julio Jones still on his team, but if he can maintain a catch percentage of nearly 70%, it's also hard to imagine him landing outside of the top 20. Ridley feels like a very safe wide receiver too in my book. He could become a top 10 receiver, I suppose, if something were to happen to Julio Jones. But overall, I would say he has a very, very high floor, but not a very high ceiling. He's kind of a safe pick. If you're taking a bit of a risk ahead of him, I feel like he's a safe pick to end up in the second to be a wide receiver 2. And you don't even have to draft him as a wide receiver 2. I think he's being taken as like wide receiver 22 or 23, something like that. So you can get a decent value on Ridley, and I'm pretty sure he's going to end up as a top 2 wide receiver again this season. So I like Calvin Ridley. Number 19 is more of a risky pick for me here. I have Corey Davis from Tennessee. He finished as the 27th wide receiver last year. I feel like I'm on an island with Corey Davis. I feel like I'm the only guy who likes him. Davis has made huge progress from year 1 to year 2. In year 2, where he played all 16 games, his targets and receptions both nearly doubled from his rookie campaign. So if he can improve on his catch percentage, he's only catching like 52% of the balls thrown to him, which is not great, I admit. And he uses his size a bit more. He is 6'3" in the red zone. Davis could easily become a wide receiver 2 this season. Unlike Ridley, Davis is more of a boomer bust candidate, I admit it, but I expect him to put up over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns this season. And the great thing about Davis is you don't have to draft him as a wide receiver 2. He's actually going as wide receiver number 37 or 100th overall on ESPN leagues right now. It is still early for ADP. That might change in the future, but right now you're getting great value, I believe, on Corey Davis, as he's being ranked as the 37th wide receiver. Well, in a disappointing year last year, he finished 27th. So I really like Corey Davis. I think wide receivers in that third year can take a huge jump. I think he's a great candidate for that. They brought in some extra weapons in Humphreys and A.J. Brown. I think that's only going to be good for Davis. I think he remains the number one target. And if he can just do the things I ask, he could easily become a top 20 wide receiver. I think he actually has upside to be a top 10 guy this year. I'm not predicting that. I still have him 19 on my list, but he does have that upside. Now, certainly the floor is much, much lower with Corey Davis as well. Number 18 on our list, we have Cooks out of the Los Angeles Rams. So he was number 12 overall last year. Cooks is coming off a career year in yards where he piled up 1,204 yards in 2018. He should be even more reliable in year two under Sean McVay. Let's see. His targets didn't really change even after Cooper Kupp tore his ACL last year. So I would expect him to remain around 115 targets again in 2019. And Cook has some touchdown upside. He only had 5 touchdowns last season, which was the lowest since his rookie year. The problem with Cooks is that his ceiling is kind of capped because the Rams love to run the ball, and they've got a lot of other receivers to feed on this team, right? So Cooks really isn't I don't think he's a candidate to finish in the top 10. He finished 12th last year. I think that's about as good as you could expect from Cooks. I mean, maybe could he be a low-end wide receiver one? I suppose so, but I feel much better about him as a plug-and-play number 2 starter. Now, if I was able to draft him as, a late round, second round starter, I'd be happy to do it. I don't think I'm going to get there with him as my 18th wide receiver. He's being drafted more like the 14th or 15th wide receiver in most leagues. So I'm not going to end up with Cooks on many of my teams because I have guys slotted in ahead of him. So those are my 18 through 20 wide receivers in the 2019 draft. Tune back in tomorrow. We will be bringing you all the fantasy news. Plus, we'll be going over wide receivers 14 through 17. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please visit mathradio.com. Pick up an online math course for your child, ages 7 through 17, for as little as $9.99. We'd love it if you left us a rating and a review on iTunes or Spotify if you're listening to the podcast. If you're watching the show on YouTube, hello, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment. All right, that's it, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.